For the benefit of our friends who are watching the live stream and who expected the service to start at 10 a.m. Perth time, there has been a slight delay. We're just waiting for a family member to arrive, but please stay with us. We do anticipate getting underway in the next 10 minutes or so. Thanks very much for your patience, and we apologise for the delay. Well, good morning. Family and friends, we're meeting today, as you're aware, to farewell Dick and to honour his life of 73 years. On behalf of Stephen and the family, thank you for being here to support and comfort them at this difficult time. My name's Dave Christison. I'm honoured to be the celebrant for your service today. Conducting the service is Jacques Logenberg from Seasons Funerals. Could I just remind any of you who happen to have a mobile phone in your pocket that they all have silent switches. Current travel and other restrictions, as you are aware, mean there are people who would love to be here today, but circumstances don't allow that. We do know, though, that they're with us in spirit, and many have sent messages of love and support. It's heartening that even those who can't be here can watch and hear today's service through live streaming, and please be assured that you are as much a part of Dick's service as those of us here in the chapel. And I know that we have one viewer from as far away as New York in Dick's niece, Sammy. Each of you and many others have had your lives influenced in one way or another by Dick or his family, so each one of you will miss him in your own special and individual ways. I had the privilege of meeting with the family earlier in the week, and that meeting has enabled me to help put together Dick's eulogy with them, and I will share that with you in just a moment. There will also be tributes to Dick, including a presentation of photographs that I'm sure will bring back many memories for all of you. We'll also have a tribute from the RSL. Dick was born in Armidale, New South Wales on the 27th of March 1947 to parents Harrison and Elizabeth Edwards. Both had served in the RAAF, setting a path their young son would follow. Richard John Edwards was a younger brother to his sister Cheryl, who's made the journey from Queensland to be here with us today. Their father, Harrison, was an Air Force pilot. Their uncle, Eric, was the managing director of the Yates Seed Company, Australia. Harrison, Elizabeth, Cheryl and the baby Richard lived initially on a family property at Malvern Hill, Dangersley, just south of Armidale in New South Wales. As a young child, Dick suffered from pretty severe eczema, and the only treatment in those days was an oatmeal bath. At night, his arms and legs had to be splintered and bandaged, but in the morning, invariably, Dick would wake up still in a great deal of discomfort. In 1950, the family moved to Bundaberg in Queensland to a warmer climate for the eczema, which he eventually outgrew. In 1964, at just 16, Dick was accepted into the RAAF Engineering Apprentice Intake course number 16. On graduating, Dick was posted to RAF Base Williamtown. He was obviously pretty outstanding at his trade as he applied and was accepted to join the number 14 Engineering Diploma course at RAF Base Frognal in Melbourne in 1969. That was associated with the then RMIT, Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. Dick graduated as an RAAF engineering officer in 1971. It was also during his time in Victoria that he had met a young female officer in Helen Glody, and within 12 months they'd fallen in love and were married here in Perth, Helen's hometown, in November of 1973. Military regulations dictated that Helen had to leave the service once she was married. Hardly an era of equal opportunity in those days. However, Air Force life did offer opportunity for advancement for the young male officer, and Dick was only at RAF Williamtown for a short time before he and Helen were posted to the Air Force's strategic base at Butterworth near Penang in Malaysia. Butterworth was the RAF's first permanent air base outside of Australia post-World War II. At its peak in the 1970s, the base was home to some 5,000 Australian personnel and their families, and Dick worked, in fact, was supervising a team of 70 aircraft tradesmen. They were carrying responsibility for management of avionics maintenance, aircraft simulator maintenance, precision equipment maintenance, and of course all of the associated personnel management and administration that goes with those jobs. That Malaysian posting led to a transfer back to Australia as an engineering officer at RAF Headquarters Support Command in Melbourne, where Dick was responsible for management of civilian contractor maintenance programs and production requirements in support of aircraft instrument repair and overhaul. That Headquarters Support Command role also saw Dick posted to and spend 6 months in England. His next posting took him back to Wagga, again in a senior engineering role for 3 years that included the birth of their son Stephen in 1979. They stayed in Wagga until 1981, when the next posting took the family to Glenbrook, west of Sydney, at the foot of the Blue Mountains. For those who don't know, RAF Base Glenbrook was and still is home to headquarters for the RAF's Operational Air Command. Dick's final posting with the RAF was back at Williamtown, again as a senior engineering officer, before he finally left the service as squadron leader, Dick Edwards, in 1984. An amazing career of 21 years of service to the Air Force and to our nation. Many of those postings involved the training of other personnel, and that training role was to shape Dick's eventual move into his own business. After leaving the RAF, Helen and Dick moved to Perth with their young son and spent the next year building and landscaping their new home in Willetton. After completing the house and land, Dick joined the civilian workforce in 1985. First with Universal Electronics as a production manager, and then as the manager of manufacturing, supply service and quality assurance. He subsequently held similar roles with Oasis Control Systems and Micro Controls Limited. His next role took him to work as a production and quality assurance manager with Paul Kirk Electronics. PKE is one of Australia's leading manufacturers of customised radio broadcast desks, which have been sold both nationally and internationally. By 1990, Dick decided to try his hand at running his own business, and he held a Gardner Electronics franchise in Innaloo For those who remember gardeners, they retailed and installed car stereos, alarms, car phones as they were then, and a range of associated electronic equipment. Sadly, it was around that time that Helen and Dick separated, but always remained good friends and devoted parents to Stephen. His self-employment lasted 3 years before Dick moved back to management roles, firstly with Stanlite Electronics and then Australian Defence Industries, simply known then as ADI Limited. And a fascination with classic cars had been brewing for some time, and Dick decided it was time to act. In 1997, he bought his prized 1965 Stang. Helen recalls it was one of the few times that Dick actually spent money on himself. He'd always been extremely careful with money, which I'm sure you'll agree is not a bad trait in any person. Dick was introduced to the bookkeeping software known as QuickBooks, these days part of Reckon, initially to help him with some stock-taking work that he was doing at the time. His experience in training other people was an avenue worth resurrecting, and so it was that Richard Edwards' Satellite Small Business Solutions, that many of you know today, was born. Dick worked successfully with many clients and was very highly regarded, and was also a regular at Reckon's annual conferences. His success in the business also allowed him to expand his interest in cars. He moved to his home in Seville Grove, sold on the property not by the house, but by the size of the shed. He drove his trusty Falcon on weekdays, the Mustang on weekends, and began building his stunning 32 five-window coupe street rod, a 15-year labour of love. He undertook much of the work, as many of you know, himself, in his grand shed, designing his own structure to take the block and tackle that he needed for the job. Helen and Stephen recall that Dick could turn his hand to almost anything, a deft touch that could, on the one hand, build a car, build a house, landscape a huge garden, or the same hands to use a sewing machine to sew the sails for his model boats. He became a respected member of the WA Mustang Owners Club and was also a member of the WA Combined Rodders Association. And of course, he was a proud father to Stephen, father-in-law to Hayley, and loving grandfather to Isabella and Jackson. The other passion he had, besides family and his cars, was his precious boxers, the dogs, not the shorts. Starting with Lucy, when Helen and Dick lived in Melbourne, they went on to own Bo Senior, Bo Junior, Tyson, Jury, and most recently, Woody. Taken too soon, as I'm sure you'll agree, Dick leaves a proud legacy and many, many friends. Often seen as a perfectionist, but always seen and always known as highly principled. Today, we salute a life well lived. Reluctantly, we accept Dick's passing, and of course we cherish the memories that he leaves behind. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for some tributes to Dick, and firstly from Rob Bloxham, the president of the Mustang Owners Club in WA. Rob?
Thanks, David. Dick was a well-respected and long-time member of the Mustang Owners Club of Western Australia. He joined the club some 23 years ago and was a very active participant in all aspects of what we did. As mentioned, Dick was not a spendthrift, and he generously gave of his money management skills and any other skills that he had that were available to members of the club. Dick served for many years as our treasurer and was in that role when I first joined the club some 15 odd years ago. He held that position as treasurer for many years. His time and knowledge were generously provided to anyone who sought his assistance. Dick was an active participant and enjoyed one-on-one conversations, probably more than group gatherings, although he did enjoy a party. He was a strong supporter of the club. He was always to be counted upon to bring his 65 coupe to our annual shows and also to the All 4 Day charitable events that we ran. He'd enjoy a cruise event, as many of you will acknowledge, and his past experience I did here today was through his sister, came over in, was it 89 that you said? 98, I beg your pardon. And the first thing that they went on was a cruise, Corvettes and Mustangs, I believe. He was a skilled man and meticulous. He was a quiet achiever, and you can see that work and his achievements and his meticulous attitude to everything that he did in his 32 coupe that he built. Image of it over here. My wife and I were very privileged to be able to go to the revealing of that coupe when he first opened it to show to the public on its completion. A fantastic machine. I suspect he did love his 32 coupe more so than he did his Mustang, yeah, that was evident in the way that he looked after it. Dick was a quiet man and not one to boast about his activities. I'm sure he will be sorely missed by many people. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's hear from Dick's brother-in-law, Helen's brother, Rick Glody. Rick.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and firstly, let me apologise. I held you up a little bit this morning, and I do apologise for that. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rick Glody, and I'm Dick's brother-in-law and Helen's brother. I had the honour of being best man at Helen and Dick's wedding, and of course, I've known Dick now for many, many years. Dick and Helen's relationship, although finished as a married couple, always retained mutual respect, and especially in terms of their relationship with Steve, Hayley and their kids. Although we haven't had much to do with each other these last few years, I've always remained friends with Dick and admired what he's done in terms of his relationship with his family, the family they started together, and the courtesy shown to our side of the family. I was very saddened when Steve called me and said Dick was in a bad way and was stunned at how quickly we lost him, and I admired the way Steve was able to handle that loss, retaining Dick's dignity and looking after what had to be done. To me, that showed the love and respect they had for each other, and I'm sure Dick would have seen that as a reflection on how well he's brought his son up, and he would have been very proud of him. Dick was a man, as you know, of many talents and could turn his hand to just about anything, and I'm sure that ability has endured in the man his son has become. Ladies and gents, this is a sad day, but I'm sure Dick would not want that to be the case, rather that we should be celebrating his life and his memory. I hope you'll join us in doing that as the day goes forth. Vale Dick, R.I.P.
Thanks, Rick. Ladies and gentlemen, if you turn your attention to the screen, we now have a visual tribute to Dick using images selected by the family.
Mustang Sally, guess you better slow your Mustang down. Oh Lord, what I said now. Mustang Sally now, baby. Oh Lord, guess you better slow your Mustang down. Oh yeah, you've been running all
sure those images have brought back some very special memories for all of you, and congratulations to Jacques and the team for putting that together, particularly appropriate piece of music. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now have a period of reflection which will give you all the opportunity to contemplate how much Dick meant to you and how your lives and the lives of others that he touched have been enhanced by his positive and enduring influence. It's easier said than done, but as Rick said, we should try not to be sad that Dick has gone, but to be grateful for all that he's done. Think yourselves of how the world is a better place for Dick having lived 73 productive years. I'll ask the family to come up first. You're invited to follow them to place a tribute on Dick's casket in the form of a poppy just in front of the lectern here to recognise his 21 years of service in the RAAF.
Help me share my load from a dark and lovely street to the bright side of the road. And into this life we're born, baby, sometimes we don't know why. And time seems to go by so fast. Twinkling of an eye. Let's enjoy it while we can.
Let's enjoy it while we can.
Won't you help me share my load?
Help me share my load.
From the dark and lonely street to the bright side of the road. Cricket!
Ladies and gentlemen, before we say our goodbyes to Dick, we have a reading called The Driver, written by Graham Cook, that speaks to the journey of life. Some folk drive for transport, just a means unto an end. They treat the cars as a mere machine and not as a trusted friend. Concerned only for the badge in front, how bright it might be shining, and the many pretty toys inside, their egos, their defining. The driver sees it differently. The car becomes a part. They take the road together with a single beating heart. The engine's rising rumble and the muscled, subtle growl. To the driver's ear, an orchestra. There's music in that howl. You can feel the engine as the revs rise on command. You can feel the thrust of power that answers your demand. How the clutch feels underfoot as each gear is selected. The steering too, how it responds to where the wheel's directed. The road you feel within your palms at every bend you take, and every bump and line and camber, each triumph and mistake. Your car, it tells you all of this, for this is truly living. Petrol flowing through your veins and the ways it can be driven. Not just a freeway drive, but each outing on a mission, and not a veering trundle, but a task of deep precision. Not the tedium of traffic with relief at just arriving, for the thrill is in the journey and the passion in the driving. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Hans van der Velde here from the RSL, who's going to come and recite the ode, after which we'll play the last post and observe a moment's silence and then Hans will prepare the response or recite the response. Hans?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For those that can, please be upstanding for the ode. Days shall grow not old, for we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Hans. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fact that there comes a time in everyone's life when we must say goodbye to a loved one. As we bid Dick farewell today, we remember the contributions he made over his lifetime to his family, to his friends, to his business associates, his club mates, and of course to the nation through his service. We honour Dick's life today, and while it's hard to let him go, we must accept his departure from this world. With love and respect today, we've remembered Dick's life. We now commit his character and his personality to our memories. His ideals we commit to our hearts. Tenderly, lovingly, and with great respect, we commit Dick to nature's keeping. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our service here today, but the celebration of Dick's life will continue for those who can attend at the Byford Country Club. If you can attend, you may wish to bypass the lounge here and present your condolences at the wake. The reason for that simply because of the physical distancing rules that are supposed to be in place until tomorrow. Didn't seem to work. Accordingly, those who can't make the wake are invited to follow the family into the lounge now to present your condolences. For all of those of you who have taken the time to attend today, and for those of you watching online from near and afar, thank you sincerely for the support you've shown to Stephen and the Edwards family. Thank you all for caring, and I bid you safe travels and good day.
Well, I'm not bragging, babe, so don't put me down. But I've got the fastest set of wheels in town. When something comes up to me, he don't even try. 'Cause if he had a set of wings, man, I know she could fly. She's my little blue scoop. You don't know what I got. Just a little blue scoop with a flathead mill. But she'll walk a thunderbird like she's standing still. She's boarded and relieved and she's stroking board. She'll do 140 in the top end floor. She's my little blue scoop. You don't know what I got. She's got a competition clutch with the 4 on the floor. And she purrs like a kitten till the lake pipes roar. And if that ain't enough to make you flip your lid, there's one more thing, I got the pink slip.